Okay, so let's put this up here real quick. Raji Rob has just put up alarming news in the LA Times, and the Daily News shows a major disaster for election integrity and fraud is a big public issue. Fam, it is a big public issue and nobody's paying attention to it. Monopoly of one company for printing and storage of ballots must end. This is what we talked about. You got to go down the rabbit hole, right? The LA Times put this article up.
But ballot harvesting isn't a thing. Vote by mail is so secure.
Some 2,100 LA County voters got ballots missing one thing: a way to vote president. How stupid do you have to feel as a Democrat right now when you're going around and you're telling people? I see people doing this all the time. I had a phone call from Greenpeace trying to tell me, voting ballots are the safest way. They're all safe. And I got into it with the person like, no, I meant it's safe for COVID. You don't have to get COVID. Yeah, but you kind of obfuscated and you kind of said that the mail-in ballot situation is safe. Do you know who has the contract in LA? Do you know what the contract says? Do you understand that this is a big area ripe for fraud? Jimmy Carter said so, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy Carter said so. Ripe for fraud. And so many people are getting ballots right now that don't have the president on there. Not
to mention the fact that was just really stupid, especially with all the money that we get taxed and all this crap. What are we paying for an inept system right here in LA? But also the fact that there's no way to secure where these ballots are being stored, how they're being transported, etc., and they're really pushing the drop it in here thing here in LA. I mean, I can't tell you how many texts I've gotten from everywhere in general about voting and how I should just drop my ballot in. I'm taking that ballot in. I'm not just doing that thing. No, I don't trust this election system because I've seen it fail and I've seen it be corrupt in action. Both have. We all have right here, all of us here. And what Raji Rob is doing, of course, and Jonny has been following the story extremely close, is trying to bring light to this. But most people who are preaching about elections right now are saying, well, Trump's going to steal the election, and they're completely ignoring how Democrats also steal elections.
Yeah, I mean, it caused a big problem right here in Woodland Hills. This is that area, and so Woodland Hills got a little bit more money, little homeowners out there. They're a little bit more likely to have more Trump voters in that pocket over there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if this was done by accident or but why don't you call the registrar, Dean Logan's office, and ask him, who made this problem? It says taxpayers, $300 million spent on unreliable vote count machines must be refunded. The American people must be trusted, hired, and handsomely paid for a publicly telecast manual vote count with mask and social distancing in our election. Let's help fund our people and defeat fraud. Listen, we have so many systemic problems within our elections and whatnot. What's going on? I believe personally that because I'm a big believer in the chain of custody. I'm going to talk about this a lot. Chain of custody. And that's when you have a lot of mail-in ballots that the chain of custody gets so far out of whack. When you have ballot harvesting, it gets even further out of whack. Think about it. As a ballot harvester, you hand that ballot over to somebody. You don't know where that ballot's going, where it's going to be, where it's going to end up. It's out of everybody's eyes. It's not even controlled. If you had simple tracking, you know where the ballot is. You know what I'm saying? But they don't want to fix this on this because they want to have the ability to stuff the ballots when they can. That's what the Democrats are doing. Or disappear them.
Not count them.
You know, the Republicans, they disenfranchise the voter rolls. They kick minorities off the voter rolls. They've been doing that for so long because they normally vote Democrat. You know what I'm saying? I said that's a little bit of a problem for Donald Trump because he wants to get the most Latino votes this time, the most people of color votes this time. So they have to be really meticulous about who they remove from the polls. But that's what the Republicans do. We know what they do. Now we've been catching on to what the Democrats have been doing since we've been following these primaries because they cheat the progressive in the primary. The same voter that's cheated in the general that the Republicans cheat, the Democrats have already cheated in the primary. So how do you cheat? How does Donald Trump take the election when it's already been taken from Bernie Sanders? But this whole situation right here now, ladies and gentlemen, we have how many ballots are all messed up, Jonny, total? 20, was it 21,000, 2,100, or whatever the case may be? Why don't you call the registrar, ask them, who prints these ballots? Are these done at your office? They'll say, no, we have a third-party contract doing it. What's that third-party contract? I want to see that contract. Where they at? Where they from? What do? What are they responsible for? What are their
Are
powers?
they donating to political candidates?
Exactly. Then you could try to find out who owns them because it's
Right.
another zombie corporation of another zombie corporation. They do that all the time. So you don't even know who they actually owns them. It's proprietary, their ownership. And then you'll start understanding that this is an area that we need to fix. Our overall elections need to be fixed. But to say at any point that there aren't problems with the mail-ins, the absentees, it's delusional. It's delusional. We have some serious problems, and this is an area we need to fix.
So an update on the case. So Raji here says, our election contest in court has been delayed. November 2020 election ballots printed and early voting started. We presented expert declarations, evidence of illegal access to vote count in the primary election, and the judgment is expected soon. So the judge hasn't replied yet as of today. So what happened is that, Raji filed his lawsuit, which is called a petition for writ of mandate. And then he amended that. And then, so there was the first amended petition for writ of mandate. And then the opposition, which is LA County, Board of Elections, or, the election officials, Dean Logan specifically, and then Raji also lists the Board of Supervisors, Secretary of State, Alex Padilla. They actually hired a private law firm. It's called Collins and Collins, and to go up against Raji. Raji's representing himself for fear of that lawyers will turn on him and tell him, oh, you ain't got the case and stuff, because it's happened before. He has this experience. He went to the Supreme Court in 2018. And so now, they try to demur it. The demur is to dismiss the case, saying that there's no grounds for the case or something like that. And then that happens twice. And then the judge gave him a chance to rewrite his writ of mandate. So recently, at the end of September, early October, he submitted his second petition for writ of mandate. And we're going to provide links to this. I'm working on a segment with Raji to kind of explain it all. But basically, he's alleging that malconduct happened, which is an election code, 16100A and B, or not A and B, A and another subsection. But malconduct happened through fraud. Fraud being that Dean Logan accessed the vote count, the mail by vote, early mail by vote by mail ballots 10 days prior to the election. And through discovery, he got access to the operating manual of the tally machine, which contradicts their statements that they made to him on the night of the election, which is that the machine is not 2-in-1, doesn't scan and tabulate. It does scan and tabulate. It takes a picture of the ballot and then immediately is able to read what it says, and it puts it somewhere. And if you're an administrator or you have a special type of password, in his latest writ of mandate, 2 experts agree with Raji that if you're an administrator and you have access to the password, you can access that. So there's an access point. There's an access point there. And if the defendants, Dean Logan and LA County Board of Supervisors, Secretary of State, specifically Dean Logan, gave Raji an actual fair opportunity to go do discovery to the machine so they can get the logs that tell you when someone logs in and makes changes, because that's in the operating manual too, that there's a log of that, but they haven't done it, even with a court ordered thing.
Yeah.
So this is ridiculous,
because they don't want the truth to come out. They don't.
And the judge is kind of just like delaying it. I don't know. She hasn't been.
They got the judges too.
Yeah.
They got the judges too.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Listen, Raji Rob said this before, and you have to understand this. Early counting is early fraud. Simple as that. You don't need to count early. That's why it was so disheartening to see Bernie Sanders saying we have to allow states to start counting early. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. First of all, this is the whole problem, and I understand the pandemic is here and you want to do more mail-in ballots because your system sucks and you have long lines and you don't want people out there, getting COVID and stuff, but you can't start the counting early. You don't need to. It's a false statement. Those machines, what happens on election night, are supposed to start counting on election night.
Yep.
Once they start counting all those nights, they might count for a couple days. Here they go. they stop. They're done counting, and they're waiting for more ballots to come in before they start counting again. You don't need to start counting early. Those machines count how many ballots fast at one time. Come on. You don't. Early counting means you get an early advantage to know what's going on. Okay, so now we're counting early. I know in Woodland Hills, fam, that Donald Trump is giving Joe Biden and Kamala Harris a run for their money. So now I'm going to get my people. I'm going to whip my people out in the streets to get more people to the polls in that area. Also, what I can do now, and what they did to Bernie in 2016, is if you have a lot of ballots for, let's say one candidate, you can kind of disqualify them or not let them go through and kick them to the back. In other words, they say they're not completely validated yet. It's almost like a mail-in, what's the one? A placebo. What do you call those ones?
A provisional.
A mail-in provisional of sorts. In other words, they don't validate it right away.
Right.
If you have early information and early counting, you get a game plan of like what the team's doing. It's like knowing the team's play before they run it, and you're the defense and you already have their play because you have that early information. Now you can fix your election in many ways. You can either you can get more votes from a certain area to even out the election. You can disqualify and kick some of those ballots to the end, because that's the whole thing. If they were able to look, Johnny, on who went into the system and what, they might also see what's going on with these ballots and what they're doing to them. There's so much more information. You know what I'm saying? They could see that Dean Logan went on there and disqualified a couple ballots, and it gets kicked to the back to be counted at a later date, maybe never to be counted at all. And by doing so, you can say, okay, Joe Biden has won this area. It's wrapped up. People don't go to the polls. They said, I'm not going to go out. It's already done. He's winning by a big amount. You can tweak the numbers.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they did to Bernie Sanders in the primary.
They did. They did it in 2016, too, more than anything.
Right.
Remember all the states that were flipped? Because they were going back and saying, you need to verify these ballots. Supposedly, in the state of California, Hillary Clinton won on election night by 12%. And I went to the Santa Monica airport when Bernie Sanders spoke and says, we're going to wait until all the ballots are counted. Then a month later, all of a sudden, cities were flipping. Counties were flipping for Bernie Sanders. Why? Because they used the early information to distort the numbers, to hoodwink the public, and people were like, I'm not going to vote now. Why should I go out and vote? Why should I stay in line? Nancy Pelosi. Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, same person. They've already won. They've already got it done. So what am I going to do? So early counting is early fraud. It's another thing. They're not allowed to do that. And now they've also slipped a law by in California that says they're allowed to early vote count now. Johnny, what do you got up there?
This video.
That was just our first interview of Raji. There's some really good footage in there that I lost of the machines in action. So you can see details here about how as soon as you put the stack of ballots in, it just completely, it's like instantaneously, Yeah, just
why would you need to count early?
Boom, boom, boom.
Why would you need to count early?
And this was on the night of the election.
I mean, I think we should have a paper trail.
It should be
ballots.
both,
yeah.
Well,
to check on the machine, because the machine could be wrong.
Let me tell you something. These ballots and these machines should be counted right in the precinct. Well, as soon as you get out of that precinct, the chain of custody goes out of whack. You know what I'm saying? And if it's going to be transported somewhere to be counted, I mean, it's so ridiculous. You have these vote centers that pick up these ballots. They might do a tally for whatever. Nobody really checks that. Then they take it to a satellite location, and then that satellite location takes it to the registrar's office where they do the counting. I mean, so now you got these ballots going to two different spots before they're even counted, fam. That's not good for the chain of custody. You can do so many things with these ballots. I mean, that's why that whole ballot harvesting bill makes a lot of sense. Let's repair the chain of custody. Luis Brooks put, UPS can track priority mail, but we can't track ballots. They don't want us to vote.
Yeah, they don't want us to track our ballot,
Think
because
about
then
it.
they'll know where it goes.
I'm Granny Smith. I get my ballot. It comes. It's been tracked. I put it in. I give it to the mailman. The mailman hits it. Bloop. It's tracked. Boom. There it is. But if I can just say, hey, fam, take my ballot in for me. Here you go. Now it's out of the sight of the public. Now the chain of custody is out of whack. Fam could say, I don't want that ballot. She just threw it in the trash because I voted for Bernie or Tulsi. All right, that could happen. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I'm saying? Or manipulate it. There's so many different ways to manipulate the whole process, and it's really disgusting. We need to get into this whole election integrity thing and really bring some
and it
good.
needs to stop being a partisan thing. This is a U.S. thing. Like, this impacts every single person living here.
Yeah.